Hello, everyone. This is Rev Brad, and you're listening to the Soccer Chaplains United podcast from the Touchline. This week features a recorded interview with John Hollinger. John is an American-born goalkeeper who most recently was playing in Sweden and is now trialing in Northern Ireland. John's a new friend of mine, and he joins me via Zoom while in Madrid, Spain, to talk more about his goalkeeping journey and his faith. I want to take just a moment, though, and before we begin, say thanks for listening. Could you take a minute, though, and if you're enjoying the podcast, would you give us a rating and write a review? That sure helps the podcast get a lot more exposure to others. Also, we recently linked up through Pod Hero, and if you use Pod Hero to listen to podcasts, we will be able to receive part of your subscription fees in support of our podcast. Probably won't amount to much, but every little bit helps. Finally, we'd love to hear from you. So if you want to shoot us an email, send us an email at podcast@soccerchaplainsunited.org. We'd love to hear from you, whether it's a guest speaker idea you have or a topic or something you're interested in me talking about through the podcast. We'd love to hear more from you. Well, without further delay, want to get to the interview and to our time together with John. So hold on. We'll be right back after this.
The space, and he's found the back of the net. Just a little off foot, thinking he's going to go far post. Not strong enough with his right hand. Whips that one in. Far post, almost made him ends, and they have. He has the hat-trick. The second in his career. The third of the night. The hat-trick hero. Talked about you're not going to be able to sustain that kind of pressure. To the corner. Goes towards the near post. And you're the angle, and what a goal! What a goal!
Well, hello, everyone. On today's episode, I have a new friend joining me all the way from Madrid, Spain. It's John Hollinger. John, welcome to the podcast.
What's up? Happy to be here.
Man, so tell us, how did you get to Madrid, Spain? Because originally when we set this up, you were going to be in Northern Ireland, and now I'm calling you. It's an hour later, and you're in Madrid. Tell us what's been going on. You just recently left U.S. for a training stint in Northern Ireland, maybe an opportunity there, but now you're in Madrid. So what's going on?
Yeah. So in Northern Ireland, there's a 4-week lockdown going on right now. So like the lower leagues underneath the Premier League are on hold. So I have a buddy out here in Madrid and decided to come out here and stay with him for a little bit, see Madrid. Train with him or some other teams here as well during the little break that we have, and totally unexpected though. It was it happened within like a day or two. Was out in Northern Ireland for a little over a month and was doing preseason and friendly matches as well with a couple clubs, and just a lot of unexpected things, as in 2020 has been. And so, yeah.
Well, John, I think you've got to be one of the most well-traveled footballers that I know. And I want to talk a little bit about that. But John, give us a little bit of sense of your background, your playing career, and kind of how things have kind of led you to where you are today. I mean, if someone Googles John Hollinger soccer, they're going to find out a little bit about you, but kind of maybe start with your days in the DC United Academy or how you even got into football to begin with. Cause I know for us Americans, we've got a lot of sports that we can play. We've got a lot of different things that can take our attention, but how'd you get into soccer? How'd you get into football?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I have a twin brother. And both of us growing up were, really, energetic, a lot of, energy, and loved playing all sports. And my dad, wanted us to, get in a league and to, something that we could do to get our energy out and our aggressiveness, So, so me and my brother, at 9 years old, we started on the local FPYC. It's called House League here. And just started playing goalie too, because, our coach was like, who wants to play goalkeeper? And I rose my hand right away. And
why did you choose goalie though? I mean, that's
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, no one wanted to be goalie because you don't get to score the goals. You're in the back, kind of left alone, kicking the weeds and dandelions. But why did you raise your hand?
Yes. For me, like in all the sports that I was playing, like I wanted to be like the different, position, kind of like more like a leadership position, I would say, like the goalkeeper, or like in baseball, like I was like, all right, I want to be the pitcher. I wanted to be, the quarterback within American football. So I don't know why. I just liked, kind of having that control, like that leadership position. And that's how it started.
Was your twin brother playing as well then on the same team?
Yeah, so he was on the field. He was playing in the midfield, sometimes up top. So, I remember our first game as well, and he scored a goal. So, like, and in our first season as well, like, it was pretty much like, he was scoring a lot of the goals, and I was, saving a lot of the goals. So, like, it was pretty fun. It was a blast, actually.
So John, I got to ask, because I have twins. Are you identical twins?
Yes, we're identical twins.
Wow. Now, yeah. so being chaplain for the Rapids, we had a set of twins that came, or potentially could have came. The Deli Valdez brothers. They were from Panama, and we used to joke that we ought to sign the other twin brothers so that at halftime we could just switch them around and not use up a substitution, and we'd be able to get a fresh set of legs on without using one of the subs. But did you and your brother ever play a trick or do any kind of twin joke with your soccer buddies?
Well, let's see here. Did we do any tricks? I mean, that's a good question. We didn't really do any tricks, but actually there was a time where he was also playing goalkeeper, so we would switch off at halftime, and he was the goalkeeper as well. So, I can't think of any at the moment, to be honest. But we would always, pick on our older sister because, there's two of us, we gang up on her a little bit. I mean, I would say we're not like your typical twins, because, we're 47 minutes apart. Usually it's like one minute or something. And then also it's called mirror image twins. So like he's a lefty and I'm a righty. So wow. He's all left, I'm all right. So
wow, that's cool. Yeah, I've got a set of twins, and they're a minute apart. And some of the other stuff I don't like. I haven't kept track, like who's right-handed and left-handed. I don't think they're exact mirrors, but they certainly look alike. And people have trouble with them if they don't know. So John, how did you go from 9-year-old house league to DC United Academy? Like, how did that fit in or factor in?
Yeah, so just over the years, me and my brother, we kept progressing, and we wanted to really play in high school, the varsity team within our high school. So, we ended up progressing into the travel leagues, and, we played in Great Falls was one travel league that I played with. It's in Northern Virginia, and then played with Premier AC, and then ended up, going over to DC United Academy, and that was a tryout. There was open tryouts with that, and I actually missed the U15s. U15 tryouts. So I went to the U16s, and actually at that age, it's like a big difference, like U15 and 16. So like I was, definitely playing with like older guys and just like a better level, I mean, it was already a good level and playing a year up. So at the tryouts, I told my friend that I was like, I missed the U15s tryouts, and he said, you should tell the coach. You should tell the coach. I was like, I'm not sure, I'm not sure. But like, you know what? I actually did. I went up and told the coach. And he's like, oh, okay, that's no problem. You can come to the U15, like, even though we already had trials with the U15s, you can come like train with the U15s, kind of like my trial, but instead of with the open trial, go with the club itself, the U15s. And then, I did well over there, and then they just kept having me around. So I think it's like, I think that showed me something, like if you just stay silent, like I wouldn't have gotten that opportunity just by, just asking him, which was interesting, really, really, really cool. So, but yeah, that's how I progressed into DC United Academy, and it was a really good experience. I really enjoyed it there. So yeah.
Who were some of your coaches with United?
Well, we had Tom Torres, and I really like Tom Torres. He's the coach at the women's side now, Washington Spirit. And so he was the head coach, and he's the one that, brought me in, and I really liked him. He sometimes, like, as a player, like, sometimes you might, doubt yourself a little bit, but like he really helped me with like my belief system as well, saying like, you're really good, and like, just giving me that opportunity to be with DC United. So, I would say like, just like that, helping me, within DC United, it really, helped me as a goalkeeper.
Like helped your mentality and helped you gain that confidence.
Exactly. Yeah. As well as just, development as well, getting to play with the guys and everything. So.
Yeah. Did you have a specific goalkeeping coach, maybe someone that inspired you, or like you looked up to, and that they were that person for you? Or, I mean, you mentioned Tom, but like, was there someone else that was specific to your position? Yeah, definitely. So,
just before DC United Academy, I was also with a club called Premier C, and the head, the director there, his name is Sully Hamid, and his dad is Bill Hamid. So his son is Bill Hamid. So his son is the first team goalkeeper at DC United, and so Sully Hamid was my goalkeeper trainer when I was 14, 15, 16. And, he really helped me as well, so like being able to train with him and say, I'm doing really good, and give me really good feedback, and, really meant a lot to me. And I really looked up to Bill Hamid, because I would go to the games as the ball boy for DC United Academy. I'd go behind the goalkeeper's net every game, because there's different sections you could choose. And I was like, I want to go behind the goal. So, I went behind the goal every time, and it was at RFK Stadium. So it was pretty cool, 15,000, fans. And, as a 14, 15, 16-year-old, it's pretty cool experience. So, yeah, it's a cool environment for sure. So, a lot of times in the academy system, and the academy system's grown and evolved, it's different today than it was way back in the day at the very early stages, probably when you were part of it as well. But at what point did you kind of know, hey, I need to start looking at college, I need to start looking at what's beyond high school? Like, at what point for you did you realize, you know what, I can play this game at a level where, I mean, I've worked with some athletes who their last days are playing in high school, but for you, it's not been that way. So was there a point of realization, like, hey, I've got the confidence, I've got the skill and the ability, and I'm going to go on beyond high school with this game? Mm-hmm. Was there a moment for you? I think it was when I was like 15, 16, playing with DC United Academy, and Bill Hamid's dad was saying like, yeah, you could play pro. And I think it's good, like something that, sticks in my mind as well, as like begin with the end in mind. So like, I didn't like aspire to just play in college. Like, if you begin with the end in mind, it's like, okay, I want to play professional. College soccer is just a route for me to get there, So, I would say it's from training with Sully Hamid, Bill Hamid's dad. I think that really helped me think. I was like, okay, he's telling me like I could play at the professional level. His son is, was doing really well in the MLS, so I was like, all right, just keep going, and that's when I started to, look at colleges as well.
So where'd you land college-wise?
Yeah, so I went to Canisius College. It's in Buffalo, New York. It's a pretty small D1 school, NCAA, and I had never heard of the school before, ever, until they told me. And I just thought, what, I could play at, at a D1 level, which is decent level, and continue to get my education as well. So I just thought it was a good opportunity, besides the weather,
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was good.
Who are some of the other teams that Canisius plays?
Yeah, so we play in the MAC conference. So we play against Monmouth, Fairfield, Niagara, Quinnipiac, St. Peter's, a lot of schools in the Northeast, and smaller, I would say smaller, whether it was Jesuit schools or Christian schools or Catholic, private institutions. So, yeah.
So how did that lead then to you playing overseas? Did you go immediately after college? Did you go start playing overseas, or kind of tell us a little bit more about your journey after Canisius?
Yeah. So after Canisius, so I redshirted 1 year. So I used my fifth year to play at Palm Beach Atlantic University in Florida. And even though it was D2 there, I over there was a much more professional environment. And, I was around, other, a lot more international players, and the setup, the facilities were very professional as well. So I think that helped me really focus on I can, use this and transition into the pro game as well. Because there was also, guys from that university going and playing professional as well. So yeah, it wasn't easy, obviously. I went to Palm Beach Atlantic University, finished that grad season, and then in the spring of 2018. Okay, so to answer your question, no, I didn't immediately go overseas.
Okay.
In the spring after my last year, I was just doing a lot of different trials throughout the U.S. and some overseas. And I played again that summer in PDL to just get more games as well at Palm Beach. And then that summer is when I first went overseas to Sweden. So yeah.
Cool. How'd you end up in Sweden, of all places?
Yeah, so I went to an open combine in Florida. It's called PSC. It's Pro Soccer Consulting Combines, and I had a buddy who was there that I wasn't expecting to see there, and he had just finished playing overseas in Sweden, and he was a goalkeeper as well. I knew him from growing up, actually, in Northern Virginia, and eventually, he ended up leaving that club, and he connected me with his club, his former club, because they needed a goalkeeper. So yeah, that's how I got, started overseas.
And that was IFK Omal, is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Sweet. IFK Omal.
Omal.
So, yeah, it's spelled, AMAL, but both A's have a little circles over them, Swedish, so it comes out like an OU sound. It's not too big of a city, but it was a nice place to start overseas.
Like for some of our listeners, give them a frame of reference. Like if they were to go to, what would the stadium, what would the setup kind of look or feel like at MLS or USL level? Like, is there a team or club that comes to mind that maybe would match in terms of, just facilities maybe, or stadium, maybe even playing level. I don't know.
Uh-huh. Okay. Throughout Sweden, like which clubs?
No, just the club you were at, Amal. How would that compare for maybe someone here in the U.S., like if they're thinking through like a club?
Yeah. Well, I would say it's much different, very different. And I would say the difference is like the culture. The footballing culture there is just like within the town. So like I got there, right? I got to, and at my first training, so it was the second day I was there. I'm already getting interviewed by the papers, and I'm in the papers for the city and everything. And was it even the front? It was the front of the sports, like an American Goalkeeper's here. And yeah, you're kind of known a bit more, I would say. And, your average Joes within the city know football at a pretty high level. And then, okay, so facility wise, IFK Omal, the club that I was at, I mean, we had a really nice, grass pitch, but comparing it, it would be kind of hard to compare it. I would say it wasn't like, it was definitely not MLS, facilities, but it was definitely very beautiful as in like the scenery. Cause, actually you might be able to see in my highlight video, you could see the waters. The biggest lake of Sweden is literally 100 meters from the pitch. And, it's just this beautiful blue. You could see it, even if like you're coming if you're higher up in the stands, you can see, this big body of water. It looks like an ocean, but it's actually the biggest lake in Sweden. And just this, it's the nature's really beautiful there. And it's, all around the, the facilities there. So
cool. We'll have to link to your highlight video and get a look for that. So you went from there, you went to Malmo, right? And Malmo's a pretty well-known club in Sweden.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, in 2019, I went over to Malmo City, FC. It wasn't the top league team. So the top league team there is called Malmo FF. Okay. And so, I was playing for the third division club over there. But yeah, man, Malmo was a really, really beautiful city, and the atmosphere in footballing in Malmo is also another level. Definitely. So
sweet. So John, you and I got connected when one of the church members, the church where my family worships, he mentioned meeting you at a church in Sweden. Mm-hmm. And I would say, most of our listeners here are from the U.S. and, here in the U.S., there's like a church or two or three on every corner. Give us maybe a sense of what does it look like to participate in the life of a church body when you're in a foreign country? Is that something you found difficult to find, or has it been pretty easy? Like, what's that been like for you?
Yeah, I would say initially it was pretty tough because one, for me, like I was still like growing in my faith, so I didn't really like know if I wanted to go to church or how I would and because I wasn't as open as I am now, I would say, and also the language, right? And primarily, churches are in Swedish when I was first there, and in Åmål, like it was in Sweden, a lot of the people who do go to church, at least in my first city that I was in, was older generations. So not a lot of, young guys in their 20s, going to church, and, I'd go to the service and being all in Swedish, and I would try to pick up a few words here and there, and I would say help me learn the language more. But I would definitely say, like, in the bigger cities like Malmo, there was, a church that I went to called ICF Malmo, International Christian Fellowship of Malmo. and they had an English service as well. And that was really good because, I was able to, have a community of other believers, and they were just very welcoming. I would say that the initial challenges was like not being connected with a church with, other people my age, and also the language. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Those are some huge challenges. It sounds like when you went to, when you first started going to church, like, did you feel like you stood out being a foreigner, being American? Like, and sometimes I've been in a church setting, maybe in those moments when standing out, you're either kind of rejected, like people ignore you and walk by, or sometimes people like glom on you and they just want to try and figure out why you're there or who you are. Like, did you have an experience like one of those two things, or was your experience different?
Yeah, I would say I experienced both of that, and I would definitely stick out because like there were some services like I would be the only one with not gray hair. So,
so you're young, you're a foreigner.
Yeah. So then we had in Sweden, it's called fika, which is like, it's like coffee. Yeah. Coffee socialization, and with like a dessert with it too. And we'd have that after the service, and it'd be me having fika with, older people and just, trying to communicate. But Swede, I mean, like the culture in general with Swedes is, they tend to be a little more reserved as well. Yeah, I mean, they would, come up to me and ask me like, what am I doing here? And,
did they recognize you like from the newspaper stories, or like, did they like after a while just know that you were one of the goalkeepers for the city team?
Yeah, I think after a while they knew that I was, the goalkeeper for the team, and also Namo as well. They knew as well. So some of them came out to my games as well, which was great, so yeah.
Nice. Was it hard for you to experience a sense of community, like maybe going to church, or did you, I don't know, maybe give us a sense, like, does it, I've heard from a lot of other guys that play overseas that it feels really lonely a lot of times. Has that been true for your own experience, or have you been able to kind of make and find new friendships and kind of carve out your own way of doing those things?
Yeah, definitely. Like, you definitely have to like, I've definitely experienced some, lonely times, and I think I've done it like in a way that's been hard, as in like, it's just been me, It would have been easier if, I came over with, another American that was, a teammate of mine before, or another guy I've played with before. But pretty much every experience I've done is like been by myself, So every time I go to a new club, it's me relearning and like me developing new relationships and starting from scratch again, But that's been a challenge, but I think it's helped me grow stronger, it's kind of exciting too, I try to reframe my mind. It's like, okay, it's exciting, meeting new people as well, but it's definitely been a challenge. And then the new churches in regards to that, like, well, at first in Åmål, I was going to in Europe, it's a lot more traditional churches, like whether it's Catholic churches or more traditional styled churches. It's part of like the history and the culture. Not necessarily, places I was, used to, at least in my first season, or not churches I've been used to in my first season, but in Malmo, it was a Christian fellowship, church. So I felt more sense of community there. It felt, like I would say even like a breath of fresh air. I would say that.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
How many of those sort of international fellowships have you found elsewhere, like in your travels? Is that kind of like your go-to? Do you look for those, or do you look for churches maybe similar to that now that you've kind of had that experience, or have you kind of learned a rhythm of like getting in and learning the city and finding a church or finding a community and finding people, or kind of what's that been like for you?
Yeah. And I'm still learning it. I'm still learning it. I've been in, I was just in Northern Ireland for a little over a month, and that took some transition, it took a little time for that as well, and especially with COVID now, some churches are not doing anything. So, Christian fellowships or churches, I look for that. Or even when I talk with people, like, I don't like necessarily like, maybe it's not like the first thing I say, but like if they ask me like, what else do I, do, in my time, it's like, hey, I like, I'm a Christian because of this. And, maybe I share my testimony, or I ask about the history within, the culture at the, whatever country I'm in. So for example, in Northern Ireland, they have a big history between, Catholicism and Protestants. And, so just, asking questions and learning from that, and with people, whether it's, my teammates or coaches or community or people of Northern Ireland. And then, kind of drawing that back to my faith in Christ and kind of like what I see. But just trying to learn as much as I can from them, I think like, in order to, relate with people, you got to like, if you can have some sort of like empathy for them and understand like, their background, more, I think it helps, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, John, you do a little bit of podcasting yourself. Tell us a little bit more about your podcast. It's entitled The Footballer's Faith, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about your podcast. Tell us about, how you started up doing the podcasting, and a little bit more about what's behind that, what drives it.
Definitely. So I would say for me, well, first of all, I grew up, going to church, and I'll start, pretty much with that. I grew up going to church, grew up in a Christian home, and, deep down inside me, I say, yeah, I love Jesus Christ and everything, but did I really understand, what the Bible said and things like that, and having a relationship with Jesus Christ? I don't really think so. I'm not really sure, and I would probably say no, I didn't. And then, I went away to college, and when I went away to college, I definitely, went away from Christ. Whether that was, getting into partying and drinking and girls and things like that. So, it wasn't until I was 20 years old, just before it was just at the end of sophomore year. And we had just got done with another big party. And, I'm just, it was the end of the year, and everyone had gone home, and I was there for an extra day. And I was alone, contemplating on the whole year that just had happened. And I was listening to a Christian song. I was listening to Mercy Me, and it came to the lyrics, when you see Jesus face to face, right? And when I heard that, I imagined it, and then I started crying because, I knew right there, I was like, man, I feel ashamed, I don't know if I would want to see, Jesus face to face, so that moment on, like, I was like, you know what, I'm giving my life to Christ. I need to turn this around. And so, that was the start of the journey. That's the start where, I started going towards Christ. And, fast forward a little bit, when I was in Sweden, I was, seeking the Lord more. I felt alone again because like this was my first time overseas. And I think, for me, as a new Christian, as a new born again Christian, I felt a little bit of this confliction, right? This confliction between like, I want to serve the Lord, but at the same time, I'm in the world with my teammates, with the culture, and we're doing these worldly things that maybe that does not, exemplify Jesus Christ, So I felt this confliction, because I wanted to, develop relationships with my teammates, oh, let's go out, let's party, let's do this, but at the same time, I want to live a life for Christ, So I came across this other podcast called Sports Spectrum Podcast, and it was great. I was, on that podcast, it's by Jason Romano, and they interview other professional athletes that are, Christian, and they talk about it's the intersection of sports and faith. And I thought this was so cool, like top level professionals, whether they're in the NBA, NFL, I didn't see too much in the MLS, but it was mostly, MLB. And I was like, wow, this is so encouraging. And, over time, I started to develop, okay, like faith in your sport doesn't have to be separate. It's not like a box where, okay, I do this, I pray here, I go to church on this Sunday, then, I do this within my footballing. There could be, it's, you can mix these two together and live it in alignment. I think alignment is a key word for that, So like, I'm a footballer, but like at the same time, it's like I'm a child of God. I'm a Christian. I'm a lover of Jesus, and I happen to play football. So a footballer's faith. I came up with this brand that I think can have a greater impact for others. And for other footballers who want to grow in their relationship with Jesus Christ, that want to that aspire to achieve their goals and move up within, their footballing, but also do that while glorifying God. We don't have to like limit our the gifts that God has given us, within our sport because we want to follow Christ. We could do that. We can glorify God within the locker room, on the pitch. So yeah, a footballer's faith. I have a podcast for that, and it's pretty much on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, pretty much wherever podcasts are played, and you just, search A Footballer's Faith. And, it's on Instagram as well, _footballers_faith. I have my own website, afootballersfaith.com. And, you can, this is just a lot of, it's pretty much what I'm saying right now, like the parallels between footballing and faith, and, the encouragement that, you can, that you can have between those both, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is born out of like your own journey, your own struggle, really, and just like trying to merge what you do, how God's gifted you with your faith. Has that been a big challenge over the years, just in terms of, sometimes I meet athletes who they struggle because they feel like, oh, I'm playing a game, or, I'm really skilled and gifted at football, at soccer. And there's this sort of like juggling that they do a little bit and reconciling, that with their faith. And sometimes, people ask me like, hey, Rev, should I even be playing this game? Like, and so we talk about what does it mean that God's gifted you this way, and some of those other things. But here, what I hear in your story, John, is you've been wrestling through some of this, and the footballer's faith really becomes an extension of that journey for you. As you think through some of those things that you've had to, I don't know, have you had to give up a lot in your own mind to live out your faith, or what does that look like for you just in the different spaces where you've been? You mentioned the locker room a little bit. You mentioned the tension of, wanting to develop camaraderie, community with your teammates, but the things they're doing are conflicting with what Christ maybe has called you to do. So maybe could you share a little bit more about that challenge and that difficulty? Because I think for some of our listeners, as a young athlete, whether a boy or girl playing this game, they're experiencing those same feelings of confliction when they're in their locker room. And I just wonder, like, what you would say to them kind of in these moments.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, definitely. I would say, like, my faith has helped me more, in my mindset as well, as a footballer. And actually, even as a goalkeeper, it's like, it's a lot of mindset as well. So I think, like, it's helped me look more granular, like more like big picture, right? Like, sometimes we look at the present moment, right? And in the present moment, things might not be going our way, like maybe we're not playing in a game or something, right? But when we look at the bigger picture, like, what comes to mind is James chapter 1, verse 2 and 3, when it says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance," right? Yeah. And it's like that's what's so great about, like, God and Jesus, is like just the aspect of, like, perseverance, and endurance, and you just keep going, you just keep going, like, this, our footballing career is gonna, end. It's gonna have an end date, our life is gonna have an end date. So, like, if we fix our eyes on things that are more eternal, like, for me, like, that gives me more, like, confidence, But in regards to, like, what you were asking about, trying to get, this camaraderie, I would say, like, if you just be you, don't try to be someone else, don't try to, like, fit in, like, and do something that is not you, because people initially, people might think it's kind of, like, weird or whatever, like, who's this, but I think they would, they appreciate you more. They would respect you more for you, like, being you, not always being, a yes man, just, whether it's, like, standing up for your beliefs or whatever, but it's like, just be you. And it's like, that's what's great. That's what I love about, like, football as well, is that within a team, there's so many different, like, characteristics, right? And this is, also talks about in scripture about the body of Christ, no matter what you do, it's like, we all need, a certain, characteristic within the team. We need a certain, whether that's on the pitch or in the locker room, so, like, your gifts that you everyone has their own gifts, so don't try to be someone else that you're not, so, yeah.
While you're talking, John, it reminded me of the Gospel of John, chapter 17, and Jesus, he's praying for his followers, and he knows that he's soon to leave and join the Father. He's soon to leave Earth. He's soon to take the road to the cross, and so he gives this beautiful prayer in John 17. I just want to read part of it because, as you've been talking, it's reminded me of. We are in this world, but we're not of it. And we're called to be set apart. We're called to be different. And so whether we're in football as an athlete or a coach, whether we're a staff person, or whatever God's called us into, whatever industry or vocation, he gives this prayer. And I just want to read starting in verse 13. Jesus speaking, he says, "I'm coming to you now," he's talking to the Father, "but I say these things while I'm still in the world, so that they," Jesus' followers, "may have the full measure of my joy within them. I have given them your word, and the world has hated them, for they are not of the world any more than I am of the world. My prayer is not that you take them out of the world, but that you protect them from the evil one. They are not of the world, even as I am not of it. Sanctify them by the truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, I have sent them into the world. For them, I sanctify myself, that they too may be truly sanctified. My prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one. Father, just as you are in me and I am in you." May they also be in us so that the world may believe that you have sent me. And he goes on to talk a little bit more in John 17. But I think what powerful words that Jesus, so many years ago, he prayed protection for us, that even as we're in the world, not that we're supposed to come out of it, we're supposed to be removed from it, but we're supposed to be in it and filled with joy, a full measure of joy. And John, I see that in your face. I see that as we've talked so much in the parts of your story where there's been ups and downs, like I see the joy of Jesus in you. And just for us to even realize, especially during this time of global pandemic, that we're called to be kind of out in the world, protected from it. I mean, this is part of what Christ does in praying for us, but part of it and influencing it. And I have to imagine that you've had some impact on some of your teammates and coaches in the different teams and clubs and places where you've been. Man, I just want to thank you for your testimony, and you standing strong through those things. I imagine that's got to be really challenging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that. And I would also say just enjoy it, enjoy it. Like, if we get too caught up, like just trying to, think about like, okay, my footballing and my faith, like just trying to, fit in a certain area. It's like sometimes we forget to enjoy. Like, why did you start playing football? Why, and you only have, a certain amount of time while you get to do this, So, I would say definitely like enjoy every moment. You don't get a moment back. So enjoy it.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, John, talking about enjoying things, I've kind of got this little game set up for us that I want us to try out. And if it's totally lame, we'll cut it out of the podcast. I promise you that. But I call this game the Reflex game. Okay. So one of my early stories or one of my favorite stories is the Manchester United chaplain kind of took me under his wing. He kind of mentored me a little bit. And he took me on a tour of the Carrington training facility for Man U, and it was brilliant. And one of the things that stuck out to me is I saw this light up board that kind of spanned, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 feet of the wall, and it had all these like electronic light up buttons that was designed for goalie reflexes. So a button would light, and you got to move to and get to and press that button. I don't know if you've ever had or experienced or seen one of those things, but so that got me thinking of this game about reflexes. So I've got 5 words or phrases that are from your life story. And John, I've asked you to have 5 for me. Just in advance, we don't know what these words are. But what we're going to do is we're going to ping back and forth like 2 goalkeepers who are warming each other up. And sort of the first one to drop the ball, the other one gets a point. So we're going to do kind of best out of 10. I've got 5 words for John. John, you've got 5 words for me. So you ready to try out this game? The first time I've ever done this, so don't know how it's going to go. But you ready to try this out, John?
Let's do it.
Okay. I think we need a little warm up. So I'm going to toss you the first word, and essentially, John, you just respond to it. You reflexively say first thing that comes to your mind, and then I've got to respond, and we'll see how this goes. Okay. So you ready? All right. Here we go. First word. Virginia.
Home.
Denver.
Colorado.
Rocky Mountains.
Midwest.
Michigan.
Lakes.
Michigan. Oh, okay. So I used 2 words. That probably disqualifies me there. But you kind of, I was trying to say Lake Michigan when I said lakes. So yeah, you got the rhythm of it.
Yeah. Is there a time limit? Is it?
Well, I think if you take too long to think, or if I take too long to think, or if we have a flub up kind of like I just had, if you repeat a word or you get stuck, the other person calls it and says, "Hey, no, that's a dropped ball." So we're, there's no like time limit, but we'll try and keep it like real fast between us. Okay.
Okay.
So who wants to go first? You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. You ready?
Yes.
Here we go. Footballers.
Faith.
Podcast.
Christian.
I got you. You waited too long. All right. All right. So that's a point for me. Point for Rev. I'm gonna keep a little tally marks here. Okay. All right, John. You can toss the next one.
Football.
Denver.
What's wrong with that?
No. Yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. Sorry, I messed it up.
Should we start again?
Yeah.
All right. MLS.
Rapids.
2020.
COVID.
Christian.
Faith.
Football.
Footballer's faith.
And mountain.
Pikes Peak.
Okay, good. Yeah.
All right.
Did I get that part? Like, am I supposed to respond to you on those?
Yeah, you respond back. You flash back with the first. Because I'm going to say something that you're not expecting, so you got to come back at it.
It's back and forth, not expecting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that one do you think we should do over?
Yeah, let's do that one over.
Okay.
Here, I'll toss up the ball. Okay, ready? Manchester.
United.
DC.
Oh, shoot.
Got you. All right. 2 points for me. No points for you yet. Okay. Here, I'll go again. Okay. I'll keep the momentum. Sailfish.
Palm Beach Atlantic.
Florida.
Sunshine State.
Coast.
Beaches.
Girls.
Bikinis.
Sand volleyball.
Sport.
You got me there. All right. Point for you. Okay. All right. How many words do you have left? I've used up 3 of mine.
Okay. I still have a full plate.
Okay. You toss up the next one then.
Okay. Let's go. MLS.
Rapids.
Denver.
Broncos.
Animal.
Sailfish.
Palm Beach Atlantic.
Florida.
Hot.
Muggy.
Swamps.
Crocodiles.
Slow.
Fast.
Usain Bolt.
Jamaica.
Coconuts.
Beach.
Paradise.
Tropical.
Mangoes.
Relax.
Chilled.
Cool.
Snow.
Mountains.
Rocky Mountains.
Ski.
Dangerous.
Blacks.
What? What did you say?
I got you. Blacks. It's when you said dangerous, blacks, like ski run. They put ski runs into different color codes.
Okay. Good. We went for a while there.
Yeah. We went for a little while. All right. Here, we'll try just a couple more of these. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna skip my 4th one. Go to my 5th word. All right. Nike.
Swoosh.
Michael Jordan.
The GOAT.
Oh, you got me.
Gotcha there.
I was trying to think of like Peyton Manning or some other.
Drop one of those.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, maybe. Tom Brady's a GOAT.
Oh, stop. Tom Brady.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, how about one more, John? You throw it up and we'll
right.
end it up like this.
All right. Let's go with 2020.
COVID.
Worldwide.
Pandemic.
Global.
Football.
Best sport.
Beautiful game.
Fun.
Kids.
Loving.
Parents.
Caring.
Oh, you got me. All right. Well, John, I don't know. You'll have to rate me later on that game and whether it's whether we need to revise it or do something a little bit different with it. So, sure. But hey, we've come to the end of our time today. So just want to leave us with a prayer. John, thanks so much for coming on the podcast, sharing your story. We didn't even get to some of the things I wanted to talk about, but we'll do that another time. We'll do that in a different podcast. And so just want to thank you for coming on and want to leave us today with a prayer, really a blessing. And it's a blessing that I've gotten really accustomed to praying almost every morning. And so if you would just join me in this. May the peace of the Lord Christ go with us wherever he may send us. May he guide us through the wilderness. May he protect us through the storm. May he bring us home rejoicing at the wonders he has shown. May he bring us home rejoicing once again into these doors. And Lord, I just lift up John and the other footballers out there right now that are trying to make their way in the game and play through these times where it's difficult with shutdowns and lockdowns and global pandemic. And I just pray your blessing be on them. Keep them safe, protect them. And Lord, you've put us into the world. You've put us into locker rooms. You've put us into football clubs all around the world. And I just pray that we would remain there steadfast and we would proclaim your name and your glory as best as we can. And I pray these things, Jesus, in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Well, hey, guys, this is Rev Brad and
John Hollinger
coming to you from the Touchline.